Hello, welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Giulia, the Poison Queen of Palermo, playing at the Perelman Performing Arts Center down at the World Trade Center. Now, before I get into this brand spanking new musical, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Even just a simple comment of, hey Matt, how's it going? Really helps me get these videos out to a larger audience, and I really appreciate your support. So, what did I know about Giulia? I knew that it was written by Jennifer Nettles, who I didn't know who she was, but she wrote the book, music, and lyrics, and I knew she was also starring it. So I knew she was walking in the same footsteps of writers like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote and performed in Hamilton, and Shana Taub, who wrote and performed in Suff. So let's talk a little bit about the history of this show's development. Now, this one had a pretty long road. Jennifer Nettles first came across the story of Giulia Tofana about 10 years ago when she stumbled on an article about female serial killers. Giulia kept coming back into her head year after year until she finally told producer Adam Zodovich about her idea. And he asked an obvious question, well, do you want to sing and play the role in this? And Nettles was like, yeah, I think I do. And she started writing songs about Tofana during the pandemic, eventually writing the music, the lyrics, and book herself. From there, the project made its way to Bill Rauch, the artistic director of the Perelman Performing Arts Center, and he signed on. The production then picked up an Edgerton Foundation New Play Award along the way, and it landed Tony Award winner Mary Zimmerman, who I love. One of the first plays I ever saw on Broadway was Metamorphoses, which she directed at Circle in the Square, and to this day it is in my head as one of the most exciting theatrical experiences I've had on Broadway. So super excited to see what she would do with this material. This show is having its world premiere at PAC Performing Arts Center in Lower Manhattan, and it's running from June 28th through July 26th. A few more things about Nettles in case you're not familiar with her. She is a singer and a songwriter. She's had a lot of success in that area, but she also loves Broadway. She was in Chicago for a short stint, and she also played the title role in Waitress for a while as well. So she's no stranger to performing on Broadway. But this is her first musical, and the fact that it is premiering in New York at the Perelman Arts Center is really incredible. So today I'm going to try not to give away any spoilers. I'm going to just have a spoiler section that you can skip, but I'll let you know when that happens later on. So what is this show about? Giulia is loosely based on the real Giulia Tofana, an apothecary in 17th century Italy. What starts as a single act of self-defense ripples outward through Palermo, turning Giulia into one of history's most notorious poisoners and inspiring a secret sisterhood along the way. Her real-life poison, Aqua Tofana, was famously undetectable and became a way out for women trapped in abusive marriages at a time when divorce wasn't an option under the Catholic Church. The question hanging over the whole show is whether Giulia can save the women around her without losing herself in the process. Okay, so let's start with some positives. There are a lot in this show. First of all, the cast that has been assembled are incredible singers, performers. Some of these actors are very funny with their roles. Shout out to, I think this is Governatore, Christopher M. Ramirez. Very funny in his role. He's adding a lot of contemporary, he feels like he's in a boy band. He feels like he's Justin Timberlake. Anyhow, I really loved him. Running away with her number, Always Get What I Want, is the Duchessa Didi Romero, who was also in Six. Incredible vocals. She is a ham through and through. I just love her. Her number, she really steals the show. But everyone, strong vocals across the board. And of course, Jennifer Nettles, who wrote this for herself, is an incredible vocalist. And she's written songs that allow her to show that off. I think Mary Zimmerman has done some great staging work here. The set, you look at it and you go, oh, there's not much to it. But she's done something very clever. She has these 3 cabinets with these sliding doors, and what's behind those doors is constantly changing. And she keeps kind of surprising us with using those doors in different ways. Sometimes it's the apothecary, sometimes it's a confession booth in the church. And then sometimes the apothecary shelves move around, and sometimes it's more symbolic of just a giant herb in the style of 17th century when this is set in like 1600s. Sometimes it opens and there's a scene playing behind the cabinets. Sometimes there's a little goat man waiting there in the cardinal's chambers in the church. So really fun use of set. The costumes also really evocative. Everything feels of this time and also done very sexily, just beautiful. The lighting is fantastic. The sound design is really great in this. I've been so used to just not being able to understand lyrics in pop songs. There are some moments where I don't catch lyrics in this, but I think the sound design is good. It helps that this theater is less than 500 seats. If you haven't been to this place, it's 3 tiers, but they kind of circle around and there's just one row along the edges, and then there's the full orchestra. It feels a little bit like those old theaters in London. Conductor Adam Rothenberg is doing great work. The orchestra sounds fantastic. I also want to praise Jennifer for being a really great songwriter. She writes in a pop contemporary style, and she really comes up with some really great grooves that really get me. I was just like, yeah, this is fun contemporary music in this score that I really loved. Okay, so some areas that I struggled with in this show, I blame Hamilton for this. So many musicals are falling into this trap of using modern music but not justifying the reason for using it, other than the fact that Hamilton did it. And so this show has a lot of songs that are tipping their hat to Hamilton, also tipping their hat to Six. To me, this show is a combination of kind of 4 shows. If you smash together Hamilton, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and Suffs, and also add a little bit of Six into there, if you smash those shows all together, you get Giulia, Poison Queen of Palermo. Maybe audiences now, from watching Hamilton, they've just accepted it and they're willing to watch shows that are written with contemporary music without there really being a reason for it. Giulia musically falls into that. We've got a few songs that are written like in the style of a tarantella or a waltz that feels like it fits. In fact, the show begins with this kind of ringing of a bell that reminds me of Italy and like the churches. So it's sprinkled in there, but for the most part, these songs it's utilizing rap, it's utilizing female power pop songs in the spirit of Six, and I love the music for this, but it doesn't always fit with the style of this show. But you just have to accept that and go with it, okay? I'm accepting it, I'm going with it. But before I accept it, one of the first people that we hear sing is the cardinal of the Catholic Church in this city. He raps right at the beginning, and I was like, oh, okay. The clergy raps. Why is a cardinal rapping? I don't know. Okay, so I think that Jennifer Nettles she's a great musician and a great singer. So the songs are really great in the show. Secondly, I think she's a good lyricist. She writes some good raps. I thought her lyrics were good throughout the show. There weren't any big moments that really pulled me, other than sometimes the lyrics didn't really make sense with the book. For example, the cardinal who we talked about, he sings a song called The Wolf. And in this he says, "They call me the wolf." And my question was, who calls you the wolf? And in this song, he kind of is owning the fact that he's an evil person. So this brings me to, I think, the biggest issue I have with the show. Jennifer Nettles, first a composer, second a lyricist, and third a book writer. I mean, this is her first play she's writing. And considering that this is her first play, she does a great job with it. But the book in this is very heavy-handed. Women good, men bad. Church bad, science good. The characters come on and we always know, we go, oh, that's a bad person, he needs to die. She's a good person, she needs to be saved. And we are always ahead of the story because it's so blatant. There is no nuance to these characters. They are black and white. Now, this show is sung through and it's set in Italy, so it is like an opera. And so in that regard, if you treat the show more as an opera, you can forgive how heavy-handed it is. from early on in the show, I knew exactly how it was going to end. I knew where we were going. And there wasn't any surprises other than the songs were surprising. You're like, oh, we're going to do that groove. There's one moment at the end of the first act where Giulia goes full gangster, and it's actually quite funny, and I really love that. And actually, it was a moment I was waiting for. So let's talk about the character of Giulia. The issue I have with Giulia, and this is, I just having seen A Walk on the Moon, it suffered from the same problem. We have a woman who's unhappy in her marriage, and she sings her I Am, I Want song, and this song is called Next Time. And in this song, she says, if I had to do this again, I would do it differently. And to me, it's just not a strong want. It's very passive. She's just like, I'm not happy in my marriage. And same thing happened in A Walk on the Moon. And so she's very reactionary. Bad things are happening to her. She's seeing problems and she's trying to fix them. But she doesn't have a drive. She's not trying to change the world. She does along the way, kind of similar to Sweeney Todd, develop this certain perspective about the world that the world is just, men are just terrible. In Sweeney Todd, they all deserve to die. We do get to that point, but the difference is Sweeney Todd has a want from the moment he steps on stage. He is there to kill the judge who wronged him. And this brings me to another issue, is that this is a tragedy, if you didn't know, similar to Sweeney Todd and similar to Hamilton. Sweeney Todd has a tragic flaw. He's so obsessed on getting revenge that he is blind to everything else, so much that he kills his own wife. So tragic. Hamilton, he's never satisfied. He's so focused single-mindedly on being successful and getting ahead. He has so much hubris that he's unable to just apologize to Aaron Burr. And so it ends tragically. Here, there is a moment in the second act where Giulia does start to get a little hubris, but it doesn't last long. And so she doesn't really seem to have a tragic flaw. In fact, each time she does something that, what she does, she has moments where she goes, I shouldn't do this, this is wrong, and then she justifies it for herself and for the audience. But across the board, Giulia, it seems like just she's a nice lady, as are all the ladies. Although I will say Jennifer does do one thing which is smart, so that's not all the women. She does plant one token woman who is bad and one token man who is good. So let's just get to bored and confused. Was I bored? Was I confused? Well, I wasn't bored with this show because the music, each time a new song started, it had a totally different groove. I was really enjoying the songs in the show. So for that reason, I was never bored, although I wasn't really engaged with Giulia as a character in her character arc. But the music really was keeping me engaged. So was I confused? Well, yes, as these things I've mentioned, the heavy-handedness, but also there were choices where it was just clear that this is a new book writer, and I'm sure Mary Zimmerman also helped her with some ideas. But there's like a moment where a bottle of medicine that the person should have been protecting with his life drops the bottle, and then there's a guy walking right behind him who picks it up, sees what it is, and then learns something. It felt contrived. And there's also the poisonings we'll get to this in the spoiler section. But there was moments in this show where I was pulled out by the book writing because I really saw that, the book writer doesn't really know quite how to handle this. And there's moments where the character of Giulia all of a sudden is empowered and she's going to do something, but then all of a sudden the floor drops out from under her. And so I just never was really able to get really on board with her. But as far as the whole story goes, it's very simple. It's not a subtle story. So I'm not confused by the story. I just was confused by some of the choices and the way it was told. I thought they could have been better crafted. And I also wanted reasons for characters to exist because a lot of them were functioning the same. We have another wife whose husband is bad to her. And then we have another wife that her husband is bad to her, and they're kind of all doing the same thing. And then we have a priest who's a nice guy, but why is he necessary other than just to show us that there is one nice guy in this? How does it all really fit into the plot where the plot becomes inevitable? And I guess this ending is inevitable just because we see it coming from a mile away. Whereas the ending to Hamilton and Sweeney Todd, the ending is surprising the way it happens. We don't know that he's going to kill his wife. We don't know that Hamilton, for once in his life, is going to hesitate. Okay, so this is the spoiler section. Skip ahead because this is where I'm going to get into dramaturgy, where I have to kind of spoil some things. Sweeney Todd with the razor, cutting necks, that's very dramatic. Hamilton shooting guns, very dramatic. And what happens in this show is she gets in a position where, so her first murder is her husband, who from the second he comes on, you're like, why did you ever marry this man? Because he's just awful and abusive. And she says to her daughter, if he ever hits you or hurts you, I don't know what I'll do. So you're telling us, okay, we know what's going to happen now. He's going to hit her and you're going to kill him with poison. But then the way it plays out is poison is not a dramatic way of killing someone, but they try to make it dramatic. So the daughter stands up, protect her mom. The dad is angry, the stepdad, and he's going to beat her, but then they do this kind of ballet where she's running and he's dragging, and Giulia goes into her head and she's like, what do I do? And then she makes the decision that she's got to poison him. So then she's like, wait, calm down, honey. Calm down and have a drink. I have this special wine that I've been saving for you. And then he drinks it and instantly dies. I know in Romeo and Juliet, the poison is fast acting. But the reason it doesn't work for me dramatically is because when a man is filled with rage, I have a hard time believing that you can just calm him down and give him a drink. And this happens repeatedly. The next person she kills, he also is searching for his wife. She's hidden in the apothecary. He comes in raging. Where's my wife? Where's my wife? He finds her hiding and he's ready just to beat her. And Giulia again goes into her head. Everything slows down. She's like, what do I do? What do I do? And she goes, I know, I'm going to seduce him. So she's like, oh, hey, baby, come over here, have a drink of wine. And again, he forgets his rage and is like, oh yeah, sexy time with this woman. I just don't buy it. When men are angry and filled with rage, they are going to hit the woman. They are going to fulfill that. And then again, the third time, it just keeps happening. And she has that same moment where she has to justify her for herself. So the repetitiveness of this happening 3 times in the first act. And then finally, at this wedding is when she finally says, you know what, all men suck. I now have a vendetta against all men. And that's our Sweeney Todd moment where they all deserve to die. And I was glad when we got to this moment because this is when she became gangster. And that's when I really went, okay, now it's funny. Now we're having fun. Also, I found the role of the daughter to be kind of a little wishy-washy. And it's true. She's a young girl and she's being protected by her mother, but she seemed really horrified the fact that her mother killed her stepfather because she's there to witness it. But then as we progress, she kind of just goes along with these murders and helps her mom hide the bodies and those things. So I was a little confused about how her character really felt about this. She, just like her mother is a bit of a cipher in this world, she's even more so just along for the ride. Another thing that I also found a little confusing about this narrative, which no one's going to think about this probably except me, but these women are like, I married this terrible person. Just like Giulia, this is her second husband and he's awful. And the question I'm asking is, why did you marry him in the first place? Because women at this time got married because they needed that to survive. They needed a man to provide for them. I'm assuming they couldn't own property, that there's a lot of things they couldn't do for themselves. They couldn't be independent women. So the fact that Giulia is solving these women's problems by murdering their husbands, and then these women just seem to be living free and single, unless they somehow were able to control those assets, I don't see how murdering their husband was really a solution, unless it was to murder their husband and then go find another man. So that is just kind of glossed over. Another issue I have, again, with Giulia not really being an exciting enough character, mainly because the plot of the story doesn't allow her. She's saving these women because she keeps getting put in these positions where, it just reminds me of Little Shop of Horrors now, where maybe each murder, the first time she does it to protect her daughter, the second time she does it to protect a friend, third time she does it to protect a woman who's about to get married to someone who's going to enter. So it gets a little worse each time until she finally is like, I'm just going to kill all men. So in the second act, Giulia has been more empowered and she's just out to we see in the second act that she's helped lots of women murder their husbands, and the coffins are piling up. But this is the second act, is when we really kind of miss really interesting plotting and surprises and ins and outs, because she becomes empowered, but then this governor, he's been lusting after her daughter, and she gets to a point where he shuts down the apothecary because they don't want the women congregating. But his real reason is he wants to have the daughter. So basically he's saying, if you want to run your apothecary, then you have to give me your daughter, which of course she's not going to do. So she sends her daughter to a nunnery, and then she wants to get a priest, the one nice guy, who she's confessed to, and he says a shepherd has to protect the lamb. And then she's like, well, I'm protecting my flock. She gets in an argument with him, and she basically gets this hubris, and she says, I am David, and men are Goliath, and I will take them all down. And it was a little strange to me because she walks in there needing something from the priest, begging him to send her daughter to Rome when she becomes a nun. I don't know how fast they become nuns. So she needs something, but then when he says, you need to stop killing people, she's like, F you, I'm going to kill all the people I want. And I was like, yeah, but you need him to do something for you. Then she storms out of there with, she's got 2 bottles of wine. She's going to kill the governor who wants to take her daughter. And then for good measure, she's also going to kill the cardinal, because the state and the church really work together in Italy. These 2 men who are in power, she's going to take them down. But then she spills her wine, and then she's SOL. And then they're like, okay, we're going to burn you at the stake now. So the trajectory goes from she's empowered, she's not. So I just was disappointed by that, because I really wanted Giulia to have a moment, like in Sweeney Todd, where she's just killing all. And I guess that happens during intermission, and we come back to it. So that was just disappointing, because I really didn't feel like we got to live in and enjoy her rampage. And again, as I said this before, but the priest role is unnecessary, because he just is there for 2 moments. He's there to give her a moment of self-reflection where he basically tells her it's all right that she's killing these guys. Not necessary. And then she goes to him again so that she can declare her independence, and she is David. And she needs this thing from the priest, but that never comes to pass. He never sends her to Rome. So that plot point is not necessary. So again, we've been giving a character that's just there so that she has someone to sing at. And I didn't think he was necessary. Another little thing. So the cardinal has a secret. He evidently has gone to France or someplace, or maybe just hanging out in Italy with prostitutes. He's got some kind of venereal disease. And so he comes to Giulia and says, I need a treatment for a little sore. And she's like, well, can you tell me a little more? And he basically shows his neck. And I was like, does he have a hickey? So that was just strange. I mean, I guess they didn't want him to whip out his penis and have her look at that to see the sores on that. So I just thought that was a little weird. And then he's the one with the bottle that then he drops it. The governor picks it up and goes, oh, he must have a venereal disease. It's just the plotting of it. Because I was like, oh, we can do better. We can do better. All right. End of spoilers. So let me wrap this up. Look, I'm hard on the book. The book is the weakest part of the show, but there are plenty of shows on Broadway that have weak books. So I don't think that will prevent this show from really appealing to a large audience. In fact, I think the audience for this show is people who like Phantom of the Opera, who like Lost Boys, people who don't need intricate plots, who don't need their musicals to feel naturalistic. They're okay with it being broad, and I'm the good person, I'm the bad person. People who don't mind that in a musical are going to be fine with this. People who really love Sondheim and like a lot of truth and a lot of introspection and very multifaceted characters, those people are going to have more of an issue with this show. But like I said, I wasn't bored during the show. I really enjoyed the singing and I enjoyed the songs. I was really happy to see this. I'm glad I saw it. I really enjoyed it. And I think for these reasons, if you want to hear some really great songwriting with a book that is structurally strong enough to give a hook to hang these songs on throughout the show, and to give us a character that's likable, although not super active, There's a lot to be enjoyed in Giulia, the Poison Queen of Palermo. So how do you get tickets? I got my ticket on TDF. The ticket technically was only $20, but then they add $15 a fee on top of that. I find that so annoying when the fees are almost as much or more than the ticket. So I believe the ticket was about $35 on TDF. I was seated in the upper balcony. I probably had one of the worst seats, but this theater is just, the orchestra is flat, but the stage is raised. So I think they can see fine. Then the first section a little bit raised, and then the first balcony is higher and the second balcony. And what happens is there's only 3 or 4 rows in the back of the first and second balcony, but along the edge, it's just a single line of chairs. And that's where I was sitting. And you can only really see half the stage if you sit back in your chair. But if you lean forward and look over the railing, you can see the whole stage. And there's no one behind you, so you're not going to annoy anybody. So that's where I was seated. So if you don't mind leaning forward, every seat in this house is fine. If you don't want to lean forward, then you definitely need to sit in the orchestra or any of the back sections of the balconies. And again, it's not a big theater, so even those back sections are close enough as far as I'm concerned. So other places to get cheap tickets other than TDF, there's under 30 tickets with the code under 30. Children's tickets are $30. I don't know if there's a children's show, but you can get up to 4 per order. And responder educators get a discount of $30 tickets. You have to have an ID is required, and you can get 1 per 4 tickets. So I guess 1 ID can get 4 tickets. So find an educator or a responder, and you can go with them. There's also student discount, 50% off, and that's ID required, and there's 1 per ID. Okay, so that's how you can get your cheap tickets. This was a ramble. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this as a ramble, if you want me to go back to more scripted reviews when I'm doing Off-Broadway. I read all the comments and respond to as many as I can, which is usually all of them. So thanks for watching. I hope the next show you see is Giulia. I recommend it. Go see it. And I hope you're not bored or confused. All right, and have a great day. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Don't wanna drift away, wanna stay inside the play. Keep me engaged, keep me amused with what's in front of me, 'cause I don't wanna be